Blog Talk Radio.
Hello and welcome to Quality of Life Radio, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Well, the gong has spoken right in my ears. There it is. Wakey, wakey, everybody. It is National Walking Day, April 3rd, 2019, and welcome to Big Blend Radio's Quality of Life show. We're streaming live from the historic Coronado Motor Hotel in Yuma, Arizona, sunny Yuma, Arizona, on the banks of the Colorado River, and we're your hosts, Nancy Reed and Lisa Smith, the mother-daughter travel team and publishers of the digital interactive Big Blend Radio and TV magazine and Parks and Travel magazine. And you can check it all out. Just go to bigblendmagazines.com. And we're here in Yuma as part of our Love Your Parks tour. So you can follow our tour. Just go to loveyourparkstour.com. Today, on today's Quality of Life show, our special guest is Sarah Elliston, and she is back to talk about how to handle unrealistic expectations, because that happens in life.
Oh, nobody has any of those.
I know. I don't think we're going to stop with our expectations, but she does have some great tips on how to handle when things go wrong, or how when you're in that situation and you want to throw a temper tantrum, how to prevent yourself from doing that. It's got to be my way. This has got to be the way I thought it was. But anyway, she's got a great article on it. If you go to blendradioandtv.com, just type in Sarah or expectations, and you'll find the article. And also, Sarah is the author of the book Lessons from a Difficult Person, How to Deal with People Like Us. You can get it on Amazon. But if you go to her website, that's the best thing. She's got a great blog as well, SarahElliston.com. And, of course, see her articles on blendradioandtv.com. So, Sarah, welcome back. How are you?
Well, I'm a little stuffy, but I'm fine. I just sound like a frog.
No, you don't. You don't sound like a frog.
Well, not the Yuma frogs.
No, the Yuma frogs sound like, we've got these big, like, bullfrog things, like the Sonoran frog.
They're like,
they sound like cattle, actually. The first time in the Southwest, when we heard these big frogs we have out here, I thought it was a big cow or something.
Really?
That was going to get it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well.
Anyway, so you do not sound like one of those.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. I feel like, when you're inside the head that's all stuffed up, it's you feel like you sound like a frog anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I don't.
Yeah, but welcome back. So
thanks. Great to be back.
Unrealistic expectations. This is something that don't you think expectations in a way we are almost always there? I mean, that's kind of a dangerous word anyway.
It is
expectation.
Kind of. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I have a friend whose children are taking her to Paris, and she's always wanted to go to Paris. And so I've asked her a couple of questions about what she thinks she's going to see and what. And this is a woman. She's probably one of the few people I know who doesn't have difficult people in her life. So she's pretty much on an even keel and is peaceful. But having been to Paris, I was just pointing out to her that the Champs-Élysées is longer than it looks. If you start at one end of it and walk all the way to the Arc de Triomphe, it's kind of a long walk, unless you're used to walking a lot.
Oh.
And stuff like that, where just asking her what she thinks she's going to see. And then I had a special movie that I particularly love that includes going in and out of French houses and, using their bathrooms, and the heroine gets to do these things. And they don't look like American bathrooms. And she has never traveled abroad, so I just wanted to introduce the idea that it won't be exactly what she expects.
Right. Exactly. And I think travel is definitely one of those things where you have expectations because you want to go somewhere for a specific experience. Mm-hmm. And the majority of the time, you're going to have a piece of that experience but 90% of it is not going to be what you think it is. Pretty much, I think. Nancy, what do you think? It could blow you away. I mean, it could be far better than what you expect.
Right.
Okay, having led tours to Africa, because you see wildlife, nature films on television, so you think, oh man, it's going to be like that. And fortunately, it's even better. It's a million times better. So when you see your first elephant or lion in the wild, it is so much better than TV.
Really?
So you expect it to be like on the television, and then you're like, uh-oh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
And there's smells and dust, and they move towards you or away from you, which on the TV is like you don't really react to that.
Exactly.
Because you know they're not in your room. But when you're right there in the wild with them, and they come close, yeah, it's awesome. Way better than I expected. Way, way better.
Oh, good. I was thinking that what happened to me when we went to New Orleans on my honeymoon, and I was envisioning this, city full of mansions with all this, the moss hanging down from the trees, and I knew they weren't wearing hoop skirts anymore, but, I just had this very romantic vision of New Orleans, and we drove in, and it looked like any other city in the world. And this was back in 1969, so I'm sure it looks different now because of the flooding and things, but I was so disappointed. I said, it's just like anywhere else. And, of course, then we went to the French Quarter, and then we went and we had some tours, and, of course, then I got what I was expecting. But at first, I was just really disappointed that it didn't look that different when you were driving into the city. So that was too bad. Another time I went on a different trip, and we came in and went across Lake Pontchartrain, and that felt like New Orleans to me. So
I remember going over there.
Yeah. So that met my expectations more.
See, that's a first impression thing. That's a first impression.
And that's really critical to tourism, how somebody enters your town or city. Your entrances have to look good. You can't have a dump like we know in one town that we used to help with tourism, and the one side you come in was absolutely beautiful, nice homes, flower gardens everywhere. The other side, you got to go by the dump. Not good, people. Clean it up. Make the entrances look good.
Yeah, because people expect something, especially if it's advertised, But it's true. Movies do that. You read a book. You want to have maybe that romantic feeling of that destination. There's this atmosphere that you're already attached to. So you think it's going to be that way. When we came to the States, I mean, I wasn't raised here, but I really am a music freak, and I couldn't wait to come here and get a Rolling Stone magazine. Was one of the first things I wanted was a Rolling Stone magazine in America. That's a big difference. Had to be in America that I had it. And I wanted to go to San Francisco, to Haight-Ashbury immediately. I wanted the summer of love, man. And that's not what was here. Pearl Jam.
But you went to the wrong summer.
We had Pearl Jam, and Kurt Cobain just killed himself, and I was like, well, this isn't it, man. And I do love those bands, but it wasn't. Even though I knew, Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and all these greats were, passed on at the time, I for some reason still just, I don't know, felt like I wanted it to be that place that I always wanted to be in, and it wasn't.
Right.
But it was fun.
Well, and I went to the Haight-Ashbury, and if you didn't know you were standing on that corner, you wouldn't know that's where you were. So, I mean, it was, again, it wasn't at the time that I guess all the hippies were out there, but still I thought there would be I would have some sort of awareness. And so my friend said, this is the corner you were looking for. And I was like, well, it looks like any other corner in the world.
That's why Winslow, Arizona now says standing on the corner.
That was going through my head just the other day. And I was saying, was it Winslow, Arizona? Because I was reading about driving through a small town in Wyoming. And it sounded to me exactly like what it must have looked like, when I listened to that song about standing on the corner in Winslow, Arizona, and just the dust and the red soil and the mountains in the distance, and everywhere you look there are trucks, and there's nothing particularly glamorous about it.
Okay, well then you've got to walk down Sunset Strip because that's a kick.
Well, no, that was
different.
A thing too. That's different too. When we got here, and we went with some of our band, and because we had a band at that time, and this was when we lived in California. And Nancy's like, "You've got to go to Sunset Strip." She's told me about this for years, and we get to Sunset Strip, and Nancy was upset. The Marlboro Man was the only thing left.
The Marlboro Man was still the iconic billboard, but the Whiskey A Go Go was for 18 and under. I'm like, you can't call it Whiskey A Go Go, and it's only for 18-year-olds and under.
It's different now.
Happened?
It's different now.
It's funny. I was not let down the first time I went to California and saw the palm trees.
Yeah.
I just that was I was expecting that, and I saw that, and I lived in Santa Barbara for about 7 months, and we went to the beach a lot. And this was before Santa Barbara began to look like every other college town, or something, Now it's not as distinctive today as it was 40 years ago, and I lived there with a family for a while, and I loved walking around the downtown area and the harbor area. It met all my expectations. It was great.
So this has turned into a travel show.
It has, hasn't it?
It is.
Well, but I mean, in my article, I talk about some of the other times that I had expectations. It's actually like the time when I went to the opera with this gentleman that really was passionate about the opera, and he was passionate about me, and he wanted us to be together. And I said, I'm just not sure, but sure, I'll go. And I'd heard the music from Aida. And then I don't remember having any preconceived notions, but the nice thing about the opera was you didn't have to dress up. I said, I'm not willing to, go to work all day and then wear work clothes or get dressed up even more.
Wow.
At least this particular opera house. And so I was comfortable. I was in comfortable clothes, but I got there and there were 5 intermissions.
See this Sarah. When I read this, I about fell off my chair.
I know, it's funny.
When we were in South Africa, and Nancy did her tour with her artwork. It was for the Cancer Association, and we were on the road for 2.5 years. And she was homeschooling me on the road, and we got to Cape Town. And Cape Town in South Africa is like, talk about a city. I mean, this is a city of the arts and just Table Mountain and everything. And she was doing this art series of South Africa for the tourism board, and so they wanted her to go to the theater and experience that, so she could, put that in these collage, these paintings she was doing. So she takes me. She's like, "Okay, well, we're going to go to the theater," but we're on the tour in parks and things like we are now, and then it's like, we need clothes. So of course we overdress because we don't know what we're doing. We had to run out and go get fancy clothes, and we go, and it was fancy. But
not as fancy as what we did.
Yeah, we go in, and now a lot is in Afrikaans, and I was kind of fluent at that time and learning it, through school stuff, and but we get in, and now everything's in Italian.
Exactly.
And then we didn't know about the intermissions either, and we left by
accident.
We
thought it was over.
We walked out.
We thought it was over.
We had no clue what was going on.
We had no idea. They did bring a real live elephant on.
Right.
And I'm like,
they did
wow, that's weird.
Too. Yep.
Yeah.
Somebody comes riding in on an elephant. I can't remember
I know.
where that is.
We're all like, okay, well, it's because it's African, but it wasn't an African elephant.
No,
it was an Indian elephant.
And it was probably Aida, because I think that's the one that.
That's Aida. That's
Aida.
the same thing you went to. That's the point.
Yeah.
The 5 intermissions.
I remember watching Aida as a movie as a child, because my mother said this will be really educational and you'll love the music, and so I sort of thought like, I have some familiarity. And then also I'd done a lot of directing amateur theater and, as a high school, drama coach and that kind of thing. And I thought, well, it'll be fun to watch the scenery and the lighting and, but 5 intermissions, and we were there till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, my gosh.
I just thought it was a weeknight, so I was not a happy camper. And I actually did, he talked me into going to a different opera, and I began to realize that most of the operas put women in a victim role. Everything gets blamed on the woman, and then she has to die in order to resolve all the conflict. She didn't marry the right guy, or she married the wrong guy, or whatever. And, it took him almost 2 years to find an opera where the woman was the heroine and not the victim.
You do understand when operas were written, right?
Yeah,
yes,
exactly. When women weren't anything. We were livestock.
But I couldn't understand why people keep going back, why they would patronize something like that.
Oh, there is a brilliant young African-American opera singer out now, and he was on 60 Minutes, and I really wish I could remember his name, and he has a beautiful voice, and it was just something so exciting about him being part of this, because it's been like this is only for these people. There's a segregation that has been going on in the opera. I'm sorry, and now I'm going to get emails.
Yeah.
But it's true. It's true. But is Evita considered an opera? I know, this is Evita.
Well, I guess.
More theater. Don't Cry for Me, Argentina.
Oh, Evita.
I see that more as I don't know what you call it, but there's dialogue as well as music.
So
whereas in an opera,
musical.
it's all music.
Well, it's a light opera.
Yeah,
where
maybe that's
sometimes they speak like 5-6 words, and then they go off into the song, kind of like it's light opera. That's how I would maybe.
Yeah.
We're going to have to ask our Hollywood historian on this.
A really good musical or opera to watch is Porgy and Bess, because now you're not like.
And I did watch
it.
Yeah.
It's all
and
about
I loved
women
it.
being a victim.
See, but I want Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald, man. Sorry, that's
Porgy and Bess.
Yes, I want that now.
I would take anybody. And if there were 3 intermissions, I would stick with it, because I love the music and I love the story. So I guess for me, if someone was going to say, shall I go to an opera, I'd say just go to one that only has 1 intermission or 2 intermissions, because they just drag on and on and on. Now, I was raised on Gilbert and Sullivan, and there is an opera house here in Ohio that does a lot of Gilbert and Sullivan. So I would always go to those with him. But the other ones, I'd say, take your other friends.
But how do you? Let's go back to this. Now we get this. You go in.
You
handle
I did
yourself.
not. I in my article, I suggest things that you can do. I didn't do that at the opera.
Yeah.
I felt really ripped off. I felt cheated, or betrayed in a way, because you're taking me to this thing that's supposed to be really fun, and my God, I'm sitting in this stupid little seat for 4 or 5 hours. I can get up and walk around once in a while, but I've been sitting at a desk all day, so it just, so I was really cranky.
That's not the opera's fault.
No.
They don't know you've been sitting all day.
I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying when I, in this particular case, with unrealistic expectations, I didn't really have an expectation. I just thought, I just assumed that I would like it because he liked it and I like music. And so instead of stopping and saying, wait a minute, do I really want to spend the rest of the night cranky? Is this the way I want to keep feeling? Instead of asking myself that, I just sat there in my dungeon, and felt cranky the whole time.
And then you get worse. So you have to retract.
Yes.
Because once you get in that path, now it's going to build up. And I think it's worse as women too. I don't know. No, I can't say that. I think it really, there's that part where now we're in that zone. Now we're getting upset. Now I say that's when we get into the child mode. We're going to have our tantrum.
Right, and men act more resentful and curt than women will maybe have a tantrum of some kind. But if you want to say a man, I sulk. That's what I do.
See, women sulk.
Yeah, well, and then I learned about having choices about how we feel, and this was after the opera experience. So I found myself in a number of situations where I think, oh, this isn't what I thought I was getting into. But instead of grumbling to myself or leaving, especially when that's not an option, I said, okay, what do I want to do to make myself feel better? I mean, I'm the only one that can control that. And, of course, one of the things that I mentioned in the article is that laughter is always the best way, as long as people aren't laughing at you.
That's how I handle politics.
Oh,
I laugh
good for you.
That's how I laugh at them, but then it's really not funny because it's like it's what happens to our world. But it's true, laughter. That's how we get through absolutely everything. Everything. We laugh at everything.
And that's one of the reasons I love talking to you guys, because I always feel like I laugh for an hour. But honestly, we have to remember, and I have to remember, that I'm in charge of how I'm feeling, and I can actually physically do something different to change how I'm feeling. And the example I use in the article is what I learned to call present timing, which is to bring myself to the present instead of going, rah, 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 this isn't what I wanted, and they told me I was going to get this, and I'm getting that. Instead of doing that, I say, wait a minute, where am I? Actually anchor myself as to where I am and get in my body. Because what happens is we go off, at least for me, go off in my head in these emotional tantrums or sulking. And if I can catch myself, say, is this the way I really want to feel? I don't know how I would have done that with Aida, but I know that I did consciously start paying attention to when the lights went up and down, and which, what was the scenery really, using the opera glasses to really look at the scenery instead of the singers, that kind of thing. So I could be there and appreciate something that I knew about the theater. But it did still, I was not a happy camper.
But I think this thing where you talk about, because you talk about this in your article, and everyone, again, it's up on blendradioandtv.com. You talk about, really getting yourself into the situation. Be present, snap out of the sulk and be present and look for the good. And I mean, I think that's why, I hate grocery shopping. I hate it. And so I'm glad about the tour. No, I don't. But I've learned that when you grocery shop, you can also people watch. And that's so I'm just going to say, whenever you're in a public situation, just people watch, because that's that. It's interesting because you look at someone, and I'm not being mean or rude. It's you look at someone and you go, okay, is that person a doctor? Or maybe he just got out of jail. So maybe it's a politician who just got out of jail. Who knows? But that kind of thing, to me, you start to appreciate everything around you. And I like what you're saying about the scenery in the opera, or look at the scenery around you, because there's details. It's about being observant. And
it's not just being observant, but what do I like about it? Because
being
that
positive.
Puts a positive twist on it. And so when I was riding in the car, I remember thinking about the clothes that I had on and looking down at, physically touching it, because I happened to like what I was wearing that day. And I was quite surprised at how it turned it around. But I was following a formula of doing something different, doing and thinking something different in order to change my feelings and my physiology. And then, of course, the people I was with were having such a good time, and they were all laughing, that brought me along with it, too. I remember getting to the end of the evening and thinking, boy, I really had a good time. And I did not think I was going to when I started.
See, that's that positive, change your mindset. We control our minds,
Yeah, but sometimes when you're wrapped up in it, when you're really, at least for me, when I'm really upset with something, I have to stop. I'm trying to think of an example of the day-to-day kinds of things, like trying to open a jar, or I was trying to transplant some pansies into some pots, and it poured. The day I was going to do it, it rained, and all the potting soil got so soaking wet, Then I had to wait another, 48 hours for it to dry out. And I had to sort of talk to myself and say, you know what, the pansies are fine. They're in their little pot, and they'll get in a bigger pot, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Why are we freaking out? Is this the end of the world?
Yes, there's that.
Somebody just posted a quote, and I believe it was from Einstein, and it was saying that, the greatest commodity we have on earth is time. You cannot get it back. It's the most valuable thing we have. And so when we're getting all crabby-wabby, and I know about being crabby, I'm good at it. When we're crabby, get over it, because it's the same strength of emotion. I'm sorry, just get over it. When you're there, I know that's not easy, especially if you're crabby. If I said, like, if someone's crabby, I'll just, get over it, like someone's going to hit me. But it's the crabby part is the same strength of emotion as laughter or positivity. They're both very strong emotions, and you can't be in that zone for a very long time. No matter how upset I get at something, I can't stay there very long because it's draining. And eventually it dies out. And then this is what I like about what you're saying so much about that control of being that positive. If you steer yourself to the positive and actually start thinking, or if it's a situation that you need to think out, something didn't work, what is it? Maybe it's at work and a plan didn't, what could go wrong? Nancy's title of her book. What could go wrong? You have to laugh at it when it goes wrong, and then you have to take stock of it. But if you're going to be stuck in the emotional zone, you're not moving forward. You're just sitting there. You will exhaust yourself, and then you don't even know what you've forgotten what was important. You know what I mean?
You're right. Yeah, I think it's get over it is a really great idea. But when I'm stuck in the middle of something, I don't always think of that, or I think, well, that's easy for you to say. You don't understand the centuries of victimization that I'm acting out here. I can make it really sound like it's everybody else's fault if I work at it. So I have to really stop and think. And the question I ask myself is, what am I doing? What am I doing? Where am I? What am I doing? I was reading an article, or saw the title of an article that I didn't actually read, of what do you do when your boss is a bully, and it had a picture of a man shaking his fist at a young woman, and she was looking like a victim. She had her head down and looking away, and I thought, what would happen if you burst out laughing when the guy tried to bully you? I wonder what would happen.
You get fired or you quit.
Yeah, because men don't like you laughing at them. I know that, if it's a male boss.
I'm sure I told you the story before about this boss that went down the row of secretaries' desks, like in the aisle, and pounded everybody's staplers as he went.
No.
And it was
so I
annoying.
do remember this. Yep.
Yes, and so I removed my stapler, and he got really, really angry. And I'm like, you're out of control. Look at you.
Did you say that?
I mean, yeah, he was
you.
really, really, really out of control.
This is why Nancy owns her own business.
Yeah, and he goes, in my office. I'm like, do you have a stapler?
Yeah.
So the result was, you will get fired or quit. And I'm like, okay, but now if you fire me, I get unemployment, which I had never collected in my life, didn't even know how, but I knew that that's an option. But then the other part of me went, you're an idiot, I quit. And it was fun to say it, and I don't regret 1 minute of it. I'm sure he's still an idiot today.
Wow. Okay. Is Nancy being a difficult person, Sarah?
Well,
uh-oh.
I think he would think she's difficult, but I think the three of us would think that he is difficult. And it didn't sound to me as if you valued the relationship enough to do any negotiation.
No, it the power struggle, and it was just the whole thing of I'm the dominant male and you're all women, so I can do whatever I want to your desk.
But this is
and that to me is no, stand up, not happening.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
my desk. Not mine.
But this was interesting because there's no value, and that I think that's key. And you talk about value a lot, Sarah.
I do.
This isn't a relationship of value. And I don't know how you have a relationship of value with somebody like that, but this is the thing too. When you're in an unexpected drama zone, or that okay, my expectation is this, and then it's not happening this way. Isn't value come into this part of mindset of change your mindset? You have to look at, is it a value? Is it even just walk away?
Is it worth it? Yeah. Yeah, like if I didn't like this guy, I could have said to him, never mind, I'm going to go call a cab and go home. And I wasn't going to do that. I did have a friend do that to me once when I blew up at him at a baseball game, and I had been driving, and he got up and walked away, and I thought, oh, he's gone to get a cup of coffee or a drink or a beer or whatever. And he went home, and he took a bus home. I waited the entire game for him to come back, and finally figured out he wasn't coming back. And it just really surprised me, and I thought, when we talked about it later, he said, I didn't like the way you were talking to me, so I left. And I thought, well, that's an honest no,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it would have been nice if he told me he was leaving for the evening.
Yeah.
But I still enjoyed the game. I just wondered where the heck he was.
Yeah.
He probably
But
just
that
didn't
relationship
want
wasn't
to
going
interact.
anywhere.
Yeah.
He didn't want to interact and cause a big drama and fight in front of other people.
And maybe he's not good at having a conversation.
No. He was
Yeah.
slightly immature in that area. But the other thing was I was ranting at him about some things that he had done, and it was probably a mistake for us to have gone to the ball game at all, and then bring up our issues while we're sitting there. But
Yeah.
What kind of ball game? Baseball?
It was baseball.
Baseball
yeah.
or tackle football?
No, baseball gives you have lots of time to talk about a lot of things during a baseball game.
Oh.
We're not good at, yeah.
They change sides, and then they have to have advertisements, and it just oh man, baseball takes forever. But if you like it, it doesn't matter. It's just, but football, I think there's less time to get into any kind of a passionate discussion because the game is ongoing.
But I don't know. You see, I can't. I'm not one of. We've been to a few games, and it's quite interesting, but I don't get it all.
To go to roller derby.
If you want to watch sports, you put it on TV, and then you put the right music on to watch them play their sports. So
I like to watch soccer.
Oh, I love soccer. I played soccer.
It never stops. Yeah.
Oh, soccer rocks. Soccer is one of the best.
No, but see, now you turn the sound off on the TV and then play a classical music piece while they're playing soccer or football.
Never
it's really fun.
That's how you balance it out in the house.
It's really, really fun.
The guy gets his game, and you get your music.
Mm-hmm.
And everything. It brings in your laughter, Sarah.
You don't have those irritating announcers telling you what you just saw. That's why I don't like sports. It's not about sport. It's about the announcers. I can't.
Well, but see, that's
them.
how I learned what football is all about. I got one of the high-definition televisions about, 10 years ago,
Lord.
and suddenly I could see what was going on, and so I listened, and they drew pictures and talked to me about what was. I started to learn their positions, and it really does look like ballet.
It's called bend over.
Bend over and scrimmage or something. Scrimmage?
Oh,
I don't know.
They bend over, they count to 10, somebody throws something, tries to kick it, other one tries to get it, runs with it, other guys follow them, they all fall down.
Oh, my gosh.
That's what it looks like, I know.
I grew up in rugby and soccer, and rugby is like the bloodiest sport, like hockey.
Yeah.
Hockey and rugby, that's bad.
I have a friend whose son played rugby in college, and then he played for, I think, 2 years afterwards, and it was he got hurt a lot, but he loved playing. Now, I grew up in a family that didn't go to football games, didn't have anything to do with football. So it took me a long time to appreciate it, and now I kind of like it. But I don't like the fact that people get hurt. But I see the plan. I mean, I see that they're following a plan, that they really are trying to follow a play that maybe somebody screws it up for them, but they don't just hit each other and all fall down. It just looks that way until you really start.
Sport is a good analogy for what we're talking about today, because you go in with a game, I know it even just, going in meetings or whatever, or even going a trip. I'm like, this is the road you're taking. I will memorize a map. And then, of course, because I won't do GPS because I cannot stand that voice. So that's my rant of the day is the GPS voice. But when you look at sports, don't. I can't. I cannot stand it. It's the
so
preppy
draw
girl
this
from high school.
analogy to sports.
Yeah, when a sports goes in, a sports thing, they're going to go in, they're going to do this. This is the way we're going to play this or that. There's a team thing with it, and then things are going to change because it's a game and it's if there's interaction with anything, something's going to change and something is going to go not according to plan. Sometimes it works, and so as a sportsman, look at John McEnroe. Talk about him being, on the court, like carrying on with his temper tantrums. Sportsmen, sometimes they just go like, darn it, whatever, and they'll maybe throw their golf club a little bit or whatever. But some do not have that sportsmanship, and I think sportsmanship we could have sportswomanship, but there's there's something about handling a situation and not going to that emotional zone. It's about thinking versus emotional, right? Because should
they
have
all
emotion.
happen together. And when I think what I'm trying to learn is that when I start to feel the heat of emotion, which would make me throw a tennis racket or, kick a cat or something, then I've learned to say to myself, what am I doing? What's going on?
You wouldn't really kick a cat, would you?
No, I wouldn't kick a cat.
Thank you.
But what I was going to say about the game, watching basketball, it's taken me a long time to appreciate it because I had to watch it when I was teaching high school, and that was different because it was the kids that I knew that were playing. But professional basketball, they have some incredible plays, and if you can stay with them and watch them, I find that quite attractive too. I mean, it's just really interesting. I mean, it's as much of an art as it is a sport as ballet is, except ballet has to be the same every time, except some ballet people change the way they do Swan Lake or, the Nutcracker, and they dance.
But you have to keep your cool. No matter what you're doing, you're performing, you're engaging, and even as a musician, you get up on stage, suddenly your mic goes out, your guitar string breaks.
Right. Yep.
And you do not allow yourself to go to that zone. You need to keep going. You've got to keep going. And I think that's what's really neat about your article and your tips is you're moving forward and getting into the thinking zone. Pinch yourself, that kind of thing, instead of, going ballistic.
Melting down.
You can't have meltdowns. I mean, that's why I say we go into a child mode in that part, but it's like that thinking. So this goes back to William Glasser, right? Dr. William Glasser.
Absolutely. That's who I learned it from, his choice theory, which says, that our behaviors, the doing, the feeling, the thinking, and the physiology, they're all connected. They're all one. They all happen at the same time. And so when I feel that heat, when I feel like it's usually something in the pit of my stomach, or I suddenly realize I have a pounding headache because of someone in the room or something that somebody said, and I have to stop and say, okay, what am I doing? What's going on? What am I reacting to? Because that's not the way I came. I was intending to have a good time, and I have found myself 2 different times in my life in a situation where I felt like I intervened and said, I need to speak to what so-and-so just said. It felt hurtful, and it felt, like, pointing the finger at somebody else, and I don't think that's why we're here, or something like that. And it opened up the whole conversation. Of course, the person who had said it spent the rest of the evening defending herself, but she really did get it, and everybody else was more comfortable about saying, yes, we don't want to be pointing fingers at people. We're here to get along, and anyway. But
you point your finger to a dog, they'll bite it.
Well, I normally I talk to myself about myself, because it's really easy to get off on so-and-so did this, and therefore I'm in a bad mood because it's their fault. That's really
yeah.
that.
But that's a cop out, man.
But
that's a cop out. That
Yes.
makes it. It's a cop out. I mean, I'm being straight up on that. I think it's a cop out when we get like that, and we all do it.
It's a
We
level of we are animals, and animals are reactionary or they don't survive. So there's a big part of us that are animals, and we react. And we need to not lose that, because if a car's coming at you, you better react. You can't stand and talk about it. And
my
reason
God.
it out, you need to react.
That's physical different.
Right,
different.
but it's mental too, because your brain's telling you what to do. So there's a big part of us that has to stay reactionary. However, it kind of carries over into relationships where when you're talking to somebody, you are not in danger, usually, but you could be. So you got to keep aware. But when somebody says something you don't like or you disagree with, then you can think. You have a choice. How am I going to handle it? And so there's that like a 2-3 second space in there. Am I going to think about what I'm going to say? Or maybe I choose not to say anything at all? Or am I going to react on the animal level because I feel in danger? That's the difference. That's the two things. So you're either going animal side or you're going to go human side, because they say animals don't have that ability. Now, I will disagree with some of that myself, because some animals are evolving just like people evolved. We used to like sort of gimp around like apes, and now we walk. Animals are also evolving. So
now we're going to get emails.
No, they have abilities that they didn't have years ago.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, so they're evolving. For us to think, well, they're not getting smarter is maybe arrogant. So,
well, the reason. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, as things evolve, we have a choice. We already have that as humans. React or think, and then say or do whatever.
I think sometimes if we can keep the reaction in our body, and not say necessarily. Now, if there are people, when a car starts coming at them, they stand there and say, "What's going on?" Rather than really doing the responding to the fact that someone's about to drive into you or whatever.
Yeah.
But for the most part,
that's also an animal reaction. There's flight, freeze, flight or freeze.
Yeah, like we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Fight, flight, or just stay, freeze. Yeah.
Freeze. Yeah. It's freeze. Animals
you either
sometimes
fight
do that.
somebody, you flee it, or you you stay where you are.
Mm-hmm.
There's three choices, and I think what we seem to always end up at is the idea of acknowledging that there's an urge to fight.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then that's where I say, I usually get a bad headache, and it comes on instantly. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but that's what it happens to me. It's like I'm sitting there and things are going on. Suddenly I realize I got a really bad headache. I think, whoa, because you know that's usually something that I've eaten or something that I've heard and I'm ignoring, or it's in my body and it's mad at me and I'm fighting myself or fighting them and not even knowing it. So that's when I have to stop and say, what's going on? What am I doing here? Because I'm not paying attention to what I was to my reaction.
That's a pain. It's weird because this is your brain runs your body, but it's like we have two brains. You know what I mean? It's like we need to control our brain and our thoughts and everything. And there are times, absolutely, that you need to stand up and say, hell no. This isn't happening. Nancy with the staple guy and, what you're saying, in
but that was fun. I have
the
to
group
admit,
of people, where someone was pointing a finger. I mean, you see now good politicians, look at even like President Obama would use a thumb instead of pointing a finger.
Right.
It would be like, hey, I'm not pointing at you. There's things that we've learned over the years of how to have better communication. So I think it's really interesting how we go. It is, think before you do something. Think before you speak. Some of these older, thoughts are really, really part of it. And Sarah, I think everyone should go to your website, sarahelliston.com, read your blog, get your book, Lessons from a Difficult Person, How to Deal with People Like Us. I love it because there's, you can sit down and actually work through things, and you've got good personal stories that people can identify with. And as just like with this article too, that everyone can go to blendradioandtv.com and read Sarah's article there. You'll see Sarah up in our expert department, and from there you can read all her different articles and listen to her past interviews. And this article will also be in the upcoming issue of Big Blend Radio and TV magazine. But we want to thank you for joining us, Sarah. We know we're going to close with some good music too.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
cool.
We've got to have good music. We want to thank everyone for joining us here on Big Blend Radio today, airing live from the historic Coronado Motor Hotel, our tour headquarters, our Love Your Parks tour headquarters. We will be back on Friday with an interview we did with composer Anthony R. Green. Anthony Green is an incredible man. He is a musician. He does visual art, and he's a performing artist. And he works in regards to educational outreach. He works in social justice, and he was the artist in residence, the National Parks Arts Foundation artist in residence in Gettysburg, a national military park. And an amazing conversation we had with him. We played some of his compositions, including the Gettysburg Address. And I encourage you to take a listen to this episode on, this is April 5th, Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Tanya Ortega, the founder of the National Parks Arts Foundation, is also on the show. They're an awesome organization. We support them in so many ways, and we love it. We interview their artists. Artists get to stay in a national park for a full month and create. It's an awesome program.
So much fun. I want to do it.
Yeah, writers, musicians, poets, filmmakers. It's open to all genres of art. So check that out. So, and of course, you can listen live or on demand. So everything to do with Big Blend Radio, go to bigblendradio.com, and you'll see our shows, listen live or on demand. But here it is, the song. I think this is important. Sometimes you just got to let go too, Sarah, right?
Right.
This song is called Let Me Free My Mind. And
cool.
It's from the album Catch That Train by David T. Dunn, and you can go to his website, David T., the letter T, Dunn with 2 N's, davidtdunn.com. But here it is, Let Me Free My Mind. Thanks so much, Sarah.
You're welcome. I had a blast. Thanks.
Good.
Take care.
Take
Always
care.
good chatting with you.
Okay.
Hey, we got into football and everything.
Yeah, we
I
went
know.
everywhere.
I know. It's cool. All right, time
They
to free
still
our
all
minds.
fall down.
Yep.
It's a Sunday day, I'm looking back over my shoulder. No, I can't complain if it starts to rain as I grow older. I remember back when the world was young and time was blinding. Now I see the signs, I'm in decline. My clock's unwinding, but please, oh please, let me free my mind. Free my mind. Well, I've been around, I've been up and down a rocky road, but it ain't too late to percolate and free your soul. Hanging on a vine, don't start the wine about your situation. Nothing holds you down except 10 pounds of aggravation. But please, oh please, let me free my mind. Oh please, let me free my mind. 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 Oh yeah. Let me free my mind. I can see the light is shining bright that tunnels in. Enemy of mine, well I might find that she's my friend. You can take my stuff and treat it rough, I won't leave you needing. When the bell has rung, Let me free my mind.